Hi, I'm Peggy Moretti. Thank you for inviting me. I'm the Executive Director of Restore Oregon, a statewide nonprofit organization whose mission is to preserve, reuse, and pass forward the historic places that make our communities livable and sustainable. We are very concerned that House Bill 2007 will do far more harm than good to both Oregon's historic districts and to the overall livability of cities and neighborhoods. It's clear this bill started out with very good intentions. We really do need to create a lot more affordable housing and should certainly seek to remove obstacles that slow that down. The first version of this bill appeared to tackle that. But then it got hijacked by special interests and a personal vendetta. Home builders have expanded its focus to accelerate construction of all housing, as if market rate housing really needed any assistance. And Thousand Friends, forgetting who their friends are, indulged a crusade by its lobbyists to attack historic districts and weaken what few protections they have. And historic resources are under attack from all sides. And this was done in the name of increased density and housing for all. Today, House Bill 2007 has become something of a Frankenstein's monster of pieced-together provisions that really don't belong. And they're unnecessarily complicated, and as I said, it's going to do more harm than good. Furthermore, for a bill that overrides local zoning and comprehensive plans, there's been entirely insufficient public engagement. The initial public hearing appears to have been consciously conducted under the radar, with directly affected constituents unaware. Now, hundreds of citizens have submitted their letters of testimony to this hearing, and they've been rejected. I have copies of them here, and I mean there are literally hundreds. And I appreciate knowing that we can resubmit those to Ways and Means, but it has felt very suspect. Whether it was intended or not, the whole process has seemed very suspect. Even with the latest amendments, this bill is still based on a set of false assumptions, and it's full of potential loopholes that are going to keep some lawyers really well employed. First, House Bill 2007 assumes that the way to create more affordability is to build, baby, build. This trickle-down theory doesn't work in economics, and it doesn't work in affordable housing. I know of no examples where it has in fact worked, and all you have to do is just look a little further south to the San Francisco Bay Area, where there's been unfettered development and the exact opposite of affordability has occurred. And this bill does nothing to incentivize those adorable, charming ADUs that Eli was just showing us photos of. It'd be great if that's what people chose to build. But it just kind of assumes that allowing duplexes virtually everywhere is somehow going to magically protect the UGB and generate affordable housing. In actuality, this bill is going to incentivize and accelerate the demolition of modest-priced homes. And they'll be replaced with units, whether they're duplexes or not, that are each 2 and 3 times more expensive than that which was demolished. The bill assumes that design review is the major obstacle to housing development, but I have an awful lot of colleagues in city planning and even in testimony today that have talked about the importance and the value of design review. I think we're dealing more with costs about land and other permitting and other fees and standards that need to be addressed. It also assumes that that the standardization of clear and objective standards is going to allow us to arrive at quality and high compatibly done infill development. But in many cases, the broad generalized standards are insufficient for neighborhoods where you need much more creativity and nuanced design. And as others have mentioned, this bill assumes that historic districts, which actually, by our calculations, make up less than 3% of residential zoning, we know that for a fact to be true in the Portland area, that they're somehow the problem because these historic protections might somehow, potentially, restrict affordable housing or infill. So the bill sets aside protections against demolition of those rare resources if density is being increased, or if the historic structure is being replaced with affordable housing, but the accepted standard for affordable has been raised to 120% of median family income. So there's been like a double standard there on how we're defining affordable. In fact, there are scores of historic districts around the state that include affordable housing. And you don't have to look any further than the Erickson Fritz apartments in Portland's Skidmore Old Town or the Merwin Hotel project, which is currently being developed in Astoria. The developer of that project, who supported the original version of this bill, has made this statement. Innovative Housing, IHI, supports the preservation of historic properties and is opposed to demolition of these properties to increase density. Historic properties are a limited resource and should be preserved. Many new construction opportunities are available on property that does not require the demolition of historic structures. As a developer of affordable housing, IHI supports the creative development of affordable housing, but not at the expense of historic properties. That statement comes from Julie Garver, who is their Housing Development Director. If you really want to create affordable housing, one of the first things you should do is stop the demolition of existing affordable housing. But this bill actually manages to incentivize those demolitions. Restore Oregon has been tracking each and every residential demolition in Portland for a couple of years now. There were 376 in 2016. A few of those homes were in fact derelict and they're no great loss, but many, most, were perfectly good, modest-priced homes and rentals. In no case we know of were they replaced with affordable housing. And I have a few slides, hold on, just to kind of do a quick illustration. If you look at these, let's see if I can click here. If you look at these illustrations, look at the sales price of that unit and then what replaced it. Mm. This is what's going on. This is just a few samples, and these were not cherry-picked, by the way. We've got a couple of examples of duplexes. Not affordable. These demolitions, all those demolitions, did not increase density in any meaningful way. Our analysis shows that for each home demoed, it was replaced by less than 1.5 new units. The vast majority of demolitions are one for one. But a lot of neighborhood character and affordability has been lost, not to mention tons and tons and tons of material thrown into the landfill. House Bill 2007 needs a do-over, or at least a major overhaul. It needs to discourage demolition of existing modest-priced homes. You could allow discretionary demolition review outside of historic districts to achieve that. And it needs to emphasize ADUs and internal conversions to add density. Those generate more affordable housing units than brand new duplexes do. Drop stipulations that prioritize maximum density over compatibility and community character, because density at all costs is bad policy, and livability does matter. Remove all references to historic districts and attempts to circumvent what few protections exist in Oregon. Historic districts are not the problem. These are rare and irreplaceable resources. They do not prohibit affordable housing or infill, and the recently enacted Goal 5 rules ensure ample public engagement. But really, most of all, this bill really should focus exclusively, on lowering obstacles to truly affordable housing. Affordable as in 60% of median family income. Market rate housing does not need any help. Limits on the approval timeline, clear and objective standards. We support whatever is proven to make truly affordable housing more competitive. But as it currently stands, this bill is a case study in overreach, unnecessary complexity, and bad unintended consequences. Thank you.